In the arts district of downtown El Paso, you can find the Plaza Theater, one of the most important historical places in El Paso. Opening in 1930, the Plaza Theater was widely popular from the beginning. Its popularity started decreasing over the years to a point of a demolition in action. However, the community came together and actively raised $1 million to stop the demolition and preserve the theater. In the present day, the Plaza Theater still serves as a place for live performances as well as hosting the annual Classic Film Festival. The story of the Plaza Theater begins on its opening day of September 12, 1930, with the screening of the film Follow Through. The theater had the capability to fit 2,410 people. It gained a lot of popularity due to its screening of films and conduction of live performances. The theater's unique form of architecture called Spanish Colonial Revival style also attracted many people. Watching a film or live performance was definitely an experience at the Plaza Theater. The organist would often play the organ before and after shows, and a starry sky would appear when the lights were dimmed. The Plaza Theater was also recognized as the biggest theater in between Dallas and Los Angeles. During the Great Depression and World War II, the Plaza Theater was thriving because people viewed it as a getaway from all the hardships they were undergoing. An important recognition took place in 1987 when the Plaza Theater was acknowledged as an important historical place. Over the years, the Plaza Theater has rightfully gained its title as the showplace of the West. Perhaps the most impressive feature of the Plaza Theater was the $60,000 mighty Wurlitzer organ, elevating from the orchestra pit to accompany vaudeville shows, sing-alongs, and to entertain patrons before and after films. Its toy box provided it with the versatility to replace sounds like horses' hooves, the ocean surf, and birds chirping. In 1972, the Wurlitzer organ was sold and housed at the home of a private collector in Dallas. Through the generosity of the late Carl O. Weiler, Sr., a former owner of KTSM television and radio stations, the organ was restored and returned to El Paso in 1998. After a long run at the Sunland Park Mall, the mighty Wurlitzer organ will return to its original home in the majestic Plaza Theater. By the 1950s, though, two major influences factored into a slow decline in the Plaza Theater's patronage. The advent of television, K-Rod TV first appeared on the airwaves in 1952, and the rise of suburban neighborhoods further and further away from downtown served as major challenges to the Plaza Theater, in addition to other downtown establishments. At the same time, a new source of competition arose with the advent of drive-in theaters in the late 1940s. The Chelsea at the corner of Chelsea and Montana Avenue was first built in 1946. This wasn't at all unique to the Plaza Theater. It was a common occurrence to theaters across the United States as patrons began living further and further away from the downtowns they had once faithfully patronized. By the 1970s, the theater was sold and much of the beautiful artwork, along with the mighty Wurlitzer organ, was auctioned off. The acquisition of the theater by the Dipp family in 1973 was what saved the plaza from demolition at that time. The theater ended up closing on May 31st, 1974, however. In 1986, after some infrequent programming through the 70s and 80s, the decision was made to demolish the Plaza Theater in order to make way for a parking lot. The El Paso Community Foundation began negotiations to raise the required $1 million to save it from that fate. They only had 6 weeks to raise the funds, but with the help of fundraising events and a successful performance by actress Rita Moreno, the day before the deadline, enough money had been raised to save the Plaza Theater. After the El Paso Community Foundation placed a new roof on the theater, the Plaza Theater was donated to the city of El Paso in 1990. Like many historical buildings, the Plaza Theater would go on to lose some of its luster and had fallen into some disrepair. That being said, the interior stayed about the same for close to 70 years. Finally, in 2002, the Plaza Theater had received a second chance to be a showplace of the Southwest. The El Paso Community Foundation restored the Plaza Theater to its original splendor in conjunction with the city of El Paso, and on March 17, 2006, the Plaza Theater reopened with its first performance being Riverdance. Along with the reopening came some new venues, such as the Alcantar Sky Garden and the Philanthropy Theater. Nowadays, the Plaza Theater seems to be back in the limelight. The theater is now the venue for the Plaza Classic Film Festival, a large and popular event starting in 2008, and is here to stay.